Don't you just love pot-bellied stoves and fireplaces? I do. There's nothing so cozy as to sit in front of them and hear the crackling of the fire. But you know, they can be dangerous too, and that's why when you work with them, you need to use things to protect you. And that's why I have a glove on for picking up the logs. You don't have to do that, but I kind of like to just in case I get slivers. And also the other reason that the glove is good is for opening the door, because you see the door is made of cast iron, and so the heat travels on it and it's very hot. Let's see. Oh, actually I don't need to put any more in. There's already enough in there, so I won't. But you know, sometimes you do need to check your fire and maybe jiggle the logs around so that they get down closer to the hot coals to burn better. And so when you do, you should always use something cast iron, because otherwise if you used another log or a stick, they can actually start to burn, and then the sparks can come out and they can catch your furniture or your carpet or something on fire. So it's very important to use your head and then also use special tools to protect yourself.
It's so good to see you again. Come up for a visit, my friend. There's so much to do. I have so many things planned for you. We'll laugh and we'll play. We'll sing and we'll pray. I'll tell you a story or two. And we'll be friends, you and I. Yes, you and I and Jesus. I'm happy you're here once again. It's so nice to have you as my friend.
Do you have your pencil and paper ready for our mystery word game? Good. Okay, now remember, when I'm talking, certain words that I say are key words, and a key word will come up on this side of the screen right here, and then the letter that's important from the key word will come across the screen and come over this side into the right space of the mystery word. It looks like today's mystery word has 5 letters, so pay close attention, okay? Now remember, we were talking about protection over in the attic? Let's look that up in my computer dictionary, okay? Protection. Let's see, what would be the root word of that? I think it's protect, right? So we'll type that in. P-R-O-T-E-C-T. Protect. And then we want it to be protection, so we go I-O-N. And let's find out what it means. The condition of being kept from harm. Do you like to be kept from harm? I do. I think protection must be important. It's so important that God talks a lot about it because God cares about us. And I just want to take a minute to read you a special verse in Proverbs chapter 2, verse 8. And it says that God protects the way of his faithful ones. Isn't that a nice promise? And not only that, he's given us brains so that we can think of things to make, and so that we can make them well, that will protect us. Let's go to my attic and play a guessing game and just find some ordinary, everyday things that protect us. Let's go. You know what this is, don't you? A seat belt. Do you always remember to buckle up? I do. Very important. Let's have a guessing game. Look around my attic and see if you can find something that won't protect your feet, okay? Just kind of look around in all the corners. It won't protect your feet. Have you found it? I think you did. It's a helmet, isn't it? Do you remember to put a helmet on when you go bike riding? How about when you go roller skating or skateboarding or rollerblading? I'll try it on. It doesn't fit me, so this one wouldn't protect me very well. It's important even to get the right size of a helmet for yourself. Okay, let's guess on another one. It's something that won't protect your head. Okay, look around. Just look in all the corners. I'll give you another clue. Also, it will help you not to catch a cold. Look around. Have you found them? Boots. Very important. In the wintertime, when it's snowing or when it's rainy, very important. And these are nice and tall, so they protect your legs and keep you warm. Okay, this time it's something that has to be open in order to work, okay? Look in each corner. It has to be open in order to work. Have you found it yet? You're right, it's an umbrella. You know, most people think of umbrellas for rainy days, but umbrellas are also good for sunny days. I've seen lots of people at the beach with big umbrellas up to protect their faces and their bodies from getting a sunburn. Isn't it nice to have so many things to protect us and keep us safe? But remember, they don't work for us unless we use them.
What keeps us safe? What keeps us well? What keeps us warm? What keeps us healthy? Umbrellas and boots, sunglasses and shoes, and coats and mittens and cars and trucks, and hats and fences, sunscreen and schools. Protection, God's protection. What keeps us safe? What keeps us well? What keeps us warm? What keeps us healthy? Carrots and cabbage and vitamins too, and parents and firemen, doctors, nurses, laws and rules, policemen and roads. Protection, God's protection. What keeps us safe? What keeps us well? What keeps us warm? What keeps us healthy? Protection, God's protection for me and you.
Come with me, okay?
Hi, I'm Janice. What's been happening here?
Well,
Ooh.
my name's Dave, and this is John.
Well, hi, John. Hi.
And it looks as though kids have been playing with matches.
Ooh. Well, you know, my friends and I are just walking on our way to the fire department. I'd like you to meet them.
How do you do?
And are you a real fireman?
Yes, I've been a firefighter for about 15 years. I happen to keep my protective equipment in the back of my car as well as an extinguisher. You never know what's going to happen. You can help with an emergency alongside the road or a fire. You never know.
Well, you know, we've been talking about protection and safety today, so it sounds like you really believe in being safe and carrying those things with you all the time.
Absolutely.
Tell me about the extinguisher. Can anybody have one of those?
Certainly. You probably will find this in your kitchen, or lots of people carry them in your cars. You can buy them anywhere around town. And what you want to do is, when you put the fire out, aim at the base of the fire and in a sweeping motion, put out the fire.
And it has chemicals in it that put the fire out.
Yes, it does.
And so kids should tell their mums and dads to get one of those.
Yes, they should. They should at least, for sure, keep one in their kitchen and maybe keep one in their car or boat, too.
Oh, yeah, those are good ideas. What can you tell us about your suit and what you're wearing?
These are my boots. And with these boots, they protect you from nails or any type of hot ashes. These are my turnout pants, my coat, my gloves, my goggles, and helmet.
Right, and that helmet, it looks pretty tough. Can John try it on?
Absolutely.
I know kids like to try on fire helmets. Tell us a little bit more about, like, I see there's these flaps hanging down. Tell us
Yes,
more about
that flap in the back protects your ears from heat and your neck. And if any hot embers or anything fall onto the helmet, this bill back here will cause it to fall and roll off the back instead of down your collar and burning you.
Yeah, so that's an important protective thing.
Absolutely.
Well, what kind of safety rules could you tell my friends?
I'd say number one, never ever play with matches or lighters. And if you see any other children playing with matches or lighters, go tell an adult or a parent right away.
That sounds like an important rule. John, tell me something. Have you ever played with matches or lighters?
Nope, I always follow my dad's rules.
That's great. I hope my friends will do that too. He's wise. You take note of that. And are there any other safety rules you can tell us?
Absolutely. In the kitchen, if you ever see anything on fire on the stove, what you want to do is turn the gas off right away. And put a lid on top of it which will smother it. And of course, number one, call the fire department right away.
Because they're there to help us, aren't they?
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Dave and John, for sharing these safety rules with us. We really appreciate you taking the time to do that.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Bye.
Let's go.
Hey kids, if you love all the fun things you get to do with Janice and her friends, you'll flip over this. It's Janice's activity book. Loaded with fun, this book teaches scripture through mazes, puzzles, dot-to-dot games, coloring, and more. And the best part is, it's free! Let's take a look inside. The scripture on this page says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Now, let's circle the pictures that are the same. That's right, you've got the idea. There are many more fun-filled activities in this book just waiting for you. By the way, did I mention it's free? To get your very own copy, have your mom or dad write to Janice's Attic Activity Book, care of 3ABN, P.O. Box 220, West Frankfort, Illinois 62896, or call 1-800-752-3226. Don't wait, order yours today.
God has given loons a special instinct to know how to protect their babies. When it comes time to choose a nest, they often choose to make a nest right near the water's edge. And so they gather together bits of weeds and grasses and leaves, and they form a little nest, and then they lay eggs. Now they always lay 2 eggs, and the eggs are kind of a brownish, greenish, speckled color. And then they lay them into the nest and cover them over with grasses and weeds, and then it comes time to sit on the eggs and keep them warm. And they sit there for 30 days. The mother and the father loon take turns sitting there. And while they're sitting there, they have to be constantly on the alert for dangers, because raccoons are an enemy that would love to eat some tasty loon eggs for dinner. Otters are another enemy. And another enemy is Mr. Skunk. And if the loons see one of these enemies coming near the nest, right away they jump into the water and swim just as far away as possible, so that the enemy animal, like the skunk or the raccoon, won't know where the nest is, and it will distract them away from the nest. Well, pretty soon it comes time for hatch day. After 30 days, it's hatch day. Now, do you have a hatch day? No, you don't. You have a birthday. Well, on hatch day, those little loons just peck their way out of the eggs, and then once they're pecked out, they're just all wet and sticky, but within about, maybe an hour or so, their wings are all fluffy and their feathers are all fluffy, and they're just the cutest little ball of fluff you can ever imagine. And believe it or not, they can swim. Just within a few hours after their birth, they can swim. Now, I know you couldn't do that, but they sure can. But even though they can swim, they do get tired quite quickly. And so then the mother or the father will come very close and let them hop onto their back and go for a piggyback ride. And they'll swim, the mother will swim for a long ways with her babies up on top of her back. Now, you know, God has given the loons another thing that really makes it easy for them to swim and to stay in the water well. A special tool. Their feathers are so close together that it makes them waterproof, so that the water can't get in and drag them down. But you know, sometimes when they're out there floating along, swimming along, looking for food and so forth, they might see an enemy animal out on the water. And so God has given them a special trick to protect themselves. They squish their feathers together just even tighter than ever, and it squishes out all the extra air, because the air that was trapped up in the feathers also made it so that they floated better. And so they squish the feathers together to squish out the air, and then that makes them start to lower down into the water. Then they push all the extra air out of their lungs, and that makes them even less buoyant, and they go down, down, down under the water. So maybe sometimes just a little bit of their head is showing, and then that way they're hidden from the enemies. I think God is so wonderful to give the loons and all the animals the ways that He does for protecting themselves.
The animals know how to protect their children. The animals know God taught them to love and care. There is danger around, and food must be found. Who'll keep them safe and sound? They need to be warm, secure in the storm. Who'll keep them safe and sound? The animals know how to protect their children. The animals know, the animals know. God taught them to love and care. God taught them to love and care.
Well, Officer Hiller, I'd like you to meet my friends.
Hi.
And can you show the kids your badge first off?
Sure.
Isn't that neat? It says Conservation Police. Tell us what a conservation police officer does.
Janice, mainly what I do is I protect the lands and the waters, and I make sure that people don't harm them or abuse the lands and waters, so that when kids get older, they'll have lands and waters to enjoy themselves. Sometimes people catch too many fish, or they may shoot too many animals, and that's where I get involved. Or sometimes people may chop down trees, they may drive spikes in the trees, so I deal with a little bit of both the animals and the forest and so on.
What about baby animals in the springtime?
Well, unfortunately, everybody, it's hard for people to pass up a cute,
So cute.
baby animal.
I know.
The best thing they can do, though, is leave it in its natural state. Just leave it alone, enjoy it, watch it, but leave it out in the nature.
What about if you find an animal that's injured or something?
Best thing to do is don't mess with it yourself, because number one, there could be you may be carrying some kind of a disease that you don't want to be exposed to. Best thing they can do is get a hold of their local authorities, and they will either pick the animal up themselves, or they'll contact somebody who's trained in handling the animal and also is trained in how to feed it and take care of it and raise it up until it's strong enough to be released to the wild.
Have you ever had to take an animal away from anybody?
One time it was really interesting. I had to take a raccoon that an individual had that he wanted to make a pet out of, and unfortunately I had to go ahead and take it from him. And the raccoon was already pretty good size, and I had put him in a box and securely taped the box up, and I'm driving in my truck to the Federal National Refuge where animals are protected. And I was going to release him there. Well, as I'm driving down the road, all of a sudden I look on my shoulder, and here's this raccoon. He's sitting right on my shoulder, and he kind of just sit on my shoulder and kind of purred a little bit, and I was driving along, and people were coming by, and they'd see that raccoon on my shoulder, and I thought, boy, he's really serious about his job.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got him to the refuge, and I let him go, and he climbed right up the tree, and I would say he's in good shape.
So you took him to a proper refuge where he'll be safe and taken care of.
Yes.
That's great. Well, I just thank you for being here. I'm sure you have to hurry to get back to your work, but we all thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Did you know that one of the best ways to become a good friend of Jesus is by spending personal time with him every day? Well, adults do that by praying and by reading their Bibles. But if you can't read, it's kind of hard, isn't it? Or maybe you just like listening to tapes. Well, here's a fun way to have your very own devotions every morning when you get up. Janice has made these morning time devotions for her kids and for you, complete with songs, prayers, and stories. For more information, have your parents write to Morning Time Ministries, Box 208A, Kitwanga, that's Kitwanga, British Columbia, V0J2A0, or call 1-800-263-7671. Here's the number again, 1-800-263-7671.
Hello, Dr. Neblett.
Hi, Janice.
We've just been studying about the animals and how God has given them an instinct to protect their young. And we also learned that we have a responsibility to protect the environment around us.
Sounds like we had better take good care of it.
You are precisely right.
Well, there's something else we should take care of.
Well, what's that?
It happens to be the largest organ on your body. What do you think it is?
Your legs, because then you can run away if you
No,
get in danger.
no, it's not.
No?
Nope. Try again.
Your hair, because you have so much of it.
People have a lot of hair, but that's not it. You want me to tell you what it is?
Yeah.
It's your skin.
My skin?
Your skin.
Oh, well, it is everywhere.
Did you know your skin was an organ?
No, I never knew that.
It's very important, too. Let me show you. If you did not have skin, you would look like Frank over here.
Ooh.
All of your muscles would be exposed, and you would be in a lot of trouble.
Ooh, that would probably be uncomfortable.
Not only that, the skin does something very important. Let me show you with the orange right here. This is the skin of the orange, and I'm going to take it off. Okay? What do you see?
The bare orange underneath, the real orange.
Well, what do you think would happen if it did not have the skin?
Oh, it'd get all dried out and probably go moldy really fast.
Would you want to eat an orange that looked like that?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
What about bugs? Do you think bugs would have an easier time getting in if it had the skin on top of it or if the skin was off?
Oh, this way for sure. They'd gobble it up right away.
That tells us a couple of the very important things about our skin.
My skin just isn't a big, big bag. I'm not walking around in a big, big bag. Protects me from the weather, helps control my temperature. It keeps me all together. This is no ordinary bag. My skin just isn't a big, big bag. I'm not walking around in a big, big bag. It senses things around me. Fingerprints give identity. It feeds me vitamin D. This is no ordinary bag. My skin just isn't a big, big bag. I'm not walking around in a big, big bag. My skin just isn't a big, big bag. God made my skin more than a big, big bag.
Are you ready for another story? Yes. Now remember, in Longview Village, lots of mysterious things have been happening. There were the noises in the cave, and then the things like the boat and the horse disappearing, and the old widow who got the food given to her and she didn't know who it came from, and so many things. And now, old Peter MacDonald is mystified over who has cleaned his house. Well, Roy and his father and uncle are still standing there, but they're getting so tired, and they really want to stay and visit Peter more because Peter is so excited, but they decide to go because they're just so tired they need to go. And as Roy drug himself home to bed that night, all of a sudden he said to himself, "Why didn't I ask Peter MacDonald what they made him for supper? Why didn't I ask?" Because remember, he had sniffed something in the air, but he couldn't figure out what it was that he had sniffed. He should have asked. Well, the next morning, they all got up late, because remember, they went to bed really late after their hike. And they all got up late, and they were kind of eating their breakfast kind of slow, and all of a sudden, in burst through the door Spinster McKay. She was 70 years old, and she just came flying in that door. Mr. Wallace, you'll never believe what's happened. I'm so upset. She was just as mad as an old hen. Someone had stolen her peat. Now, in Scotland, peat is very important because it's what you use to heat your houses with, and you kind of cut it, and then you let it dry, and then you can use it to burn it for heating your little houses. Well, of course, an old woman like her would be very upset if someone stole her peat, and I guess she had gone out to the fields, and she had cut it, and she had it out to dry, and then she had gone back to get it that very morning, and when she got there, it was gone. 6 basketfuls of it were gone, and she was upset. Well, Roy was his ears were just a-flapping. He was trying to imagine who had done it. And he finished his breakfast just as fast as he could, and he was just going to get out there and find out who did it. And on his way, when he was walking out to the peat fields, he met Oscar and Bruce, and so they helped him. They searched everywhere, but do you think they could find any peat? Not even any of it. None of it. And so they were very discouraged. But you know, what else could you do? And Roy said to them, he said, do you think it has anything to do with the people in the cave? And Oscar and Bruce just laughed. They said, Roy, do you think people in a cave would want Pete? And besides that, Roy, there's nobody in the cave. We searched. So Roy went back to his uncle's store, and would you believe he just gets in the door of the store, and there's his uncle with another story. The Pete was at Miss McKay's house, all neatly stacked right behind her house. Who could have done it? Who would have done it? Was the question that everybody was asking. Well, Roy, he was just stumped. Who did it? So he decided to go for a walk. Well, he went out walking and he got down to the beach, and there was old Corky. Well, old Corky was actually, his real name was John McCorkindale, but that's a long name, isn't it? And so they all called him Old Corky. Well, Old Corky was just the best one to talk to. He had so many stories, and he was out working on his boat trying to tar it to make it waterproof. And so Roy went and just started talking to him and listening to his stories, and he even actually started to help Old Corky because he thought he should help him. Well, by and by, as the afternoon went on, Old Corky's back started to get so sore, and he said, I'm going to have to quit. I'm going to finish it tomorrow, Roy. Thank you for helping me, but I've got to go home. I'm not feeling good. His rheumatics were getting to him, as he called them. And so poor Old Corky felt so bad that Roy even had to help him hobble home. He had to kind of lean on Roy's shoulder. Well, the next morning, Roy woke up early, about 5 o'clock, and all of a sudden he had a good idea. He thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go down to the beach and I'll finish putting the tar on Corky's boat for him, and then it'll be a surprise for him. So he jumped out of bed, and he had never woken up so early before, and he threw on his clothes, and he was so excited, and he went racing down to the beach. And he pinched himself, and he rubbed his eyes, and he looked. There was the boat finished. Are you wondering who did it? So was he. Next time, we'll find out more. Have you been paying attention to our mystery word? It was an easy one today, wasn't it? Safety. I'm so glad that you're safe and that you're able to watch today. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Don't you